The count function is probably the most common function in SQL. Let's take a look at how it works. This form of count will count all the rows in the country table in the world database. So let's go ahead and run that, and we should get a number 239, and we know that that's the number of rows in the country database. This is a special form of count because it uses the asterisk. The asterisk is a special character, and in this context it means count everything. Count all the rows, no matter what's in them. So here we have a count of all the rows in the country database. If we put the name of a column in here, now count will just count those rows where there is a value in that column. So we're going to get a different number. We're going to get a smaller number. Go ahead and run this. Now the number is 192. That's just the rows where there's a value in the independence year column. Let's go ahead and look at just that column without the count. If we put this in the query, now we'll see all of the rows with just the independence year column. Well, notice something about this. See this row here and this row here? They say null. What that means is that there's no value in that cell. Null is a special value in SQL, and it means there's nothing there. It's different than zero. It's different than a zero-length string. It's a special value that means it's empty. So when you use an aggregate function like count, it will ignore rows that have no value, that are null. And so in this case, it's counting this column, independence year, and it gives us a number that is just the number of rows that have a value that's not null in that column. Because count is an aggregator, it works nicely with the group by clause. This allows you to answer questions like, how many countries are there in each continent in the database? So here's how that works. I'm going to go ahead and run this so you can see the result while we talk about it. You'll notice that it displays the name of the continent and the number of countries in that continent. So we look at our select statement, continent, which is the continent column, count name as countries. So that's this column here, which we see the as countries, puts the heading countries at the top of it. From the country table, group by continent. So group by works with the aggregator functions. Count is an aggregator function, which means it works on a group of rows at a time. And what group by does is it takes that expression, which in this case is the column named continent, and it groups together all of the rows that have the same value in that column. And then it applies the aggregator function, which in this case is count. So it counts the name column in those groups, which is grouped by places where the continent is the same. So that may sound very, very complicated, but it's really very, very simple. All this does is it takes all of the rows that have Asia in continent and it counts them. All of the rows that have Europe in continent and it counts them. And it gives us this very, very useful result very quickly and very efficiently. So group by works with aggregators. Count is the most common of the aggregator functions and allows you to do useful stuff like answer a question, how many of this are there in rows that are like that? The count function is one of the more common functions used in SQL queries. It's a simple, fast, and effective way of counting the number of rows returned by a query.